Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Mrinmoy Pramanik. I teach comparative Indian language and literature at the University of Calcutta. Now we will discuss translation by the British in colonial India. The module is written by Anshika Adhikari, independent research scholar. Now let us begin the discussion. The history of translation of Indian literature into English has always been interwoven with the history of British colonial rule in India. According to Harish Trivedi, it has even been suggested that India under colonial rule was in a state of translation, but that theoretical and ideological formulation is perhaps a little too facile, if not also counterproductive. Though the British had begun to visit India since 1600, but it was not till the establishment of the East India Company which initiated to the journey of translation of Indian text into English. During the late 18th century, the British officials were not confident enough to administer India, so they started translating the Sanskrit text to English. This was done as a cautious step because they wanted to know and have more knowledge about the people they were ruling upon. Another reason which initiated the translations was that during the initial period of reign over Indian soil, they were not secure in their belief that they will be able to impose or introduce their culture, language on the people of India. The first translation of such a text into English was a Code of Gentoo or Hindu laws by Nathaniel Brassey Halhed in 1776. Except that it had been done not from the original Sanskrit but from a version in Persian, the official or court language of India under Muslim rule, until was replaced by English in 1837. He was a British grammarian working for the East India Company. The translation was funded by Warren Hastings and the aim was to seek control over the people of India. Halhed put down the importance of translating a Code of Gentoo by saying, the importance of the commerce of India and the advantage of a territorial establishment in Bengal have at length awakened the attention of the British legislature to every circumstances that may conciliate the affections of the natives or ensure stability to the acquisition. Nothing can so favorably conduce to these points as a well-timed toleration in matters of religion and an adoption of such original institutes of the country as do not immediately clash with the laws or interest of the conquerors. This also helped them in putting their entire faith of the Brahmins for any information regarding Sanskrit text. The subsequent series of translation entitled The British Administrators to give the authentic account of India. Travel writings, histories, dictionaries and grammars of Indian languages were certain forms in which this authenticity was being transmitted to the western part of the world. The focus was more on the Hindu text as they reflected the psyche and ethos of the dominant and ancient civilization of the country. As India was ruled by the Muslim ruled for many centuries, there was a common notion among the British scholars that the knowledge of Persian and Arabic along with Sanskrit would play an important part in getting acquainted to the various Indian texts. The first non-legal Indian text to be translated into English was the Bhagavad Gita, literally the song sung by the god, popularly the Gita, in 1785 by Charles Wilkins as the Bhagavad Gita or Dialogues of Krishna and Arjuna, comprising a dialogue in about 700 couplets between the warrior's hero Arjuna and his charioteer Lord Krishna in the middle of a battlefield just when the war is about to comments. This was a text at once both religious and secular, both scriptural and literary. It forms a small part of the foundational epic, the Mahabharata, and has proved to be the Indian text most frequently translated into English, with over 300 versions so far. Now, one of the most significant institution for translating Indian text into English is Asiatic Society, and the person who contributed a lot in this endeavor of translation is William Jones. Asiatic Society was established on 15th January 1784. Its founder was Sir William Jones, who was a scholar from Oxford. His aim was to study the laws of the Hindus and the Mohammedans, the history of the ancient world, proofs and illustrations of scripture, traditions concerning the deluge, modern politics and geography of Hindustan, arithmetic and geometry, mixed science of Asiatics, medicine, chemistry, surgery and anatomy of the Indians, natural products of India, poetry, rhetoric and morality of Asia, music of the Eastern nations, the best accounts of Tibet and Kashmir, trade, manufactures, agriculture and commerce of India, Mughal constitution, Maratha constitution, etc. This memorandum prepared by William Jones is universally considered as the foundation stone of the Asiatic Society of India. Asia, according to Jones, was the nurse of sciences and the inventress of delightful and useful arts. He then proposed to found a society under the name of the Asiatic Society. The translation of Kalidasa's Shakuntalam by Sir William Jones in 1789 was an epoch-making event in the history of cultural relations between India and the West. Indeed, its impact on history has been more profound and far-reaching than even that of the French. Far-reaching than even that of the French Revolution in the ultimate analysis. And Sir William had unveiled the vistas of a new world of ideas, a new era in Oriental scholarship and historical writing, as well as a new movement in the spheres of comparative philology, comparative literature, English poetry, Sanskrit poetry and Indian historical writing. Jones' translation, wrote Marie de Maistre in her Oriental influence in the English literature of the 19th century, were read by most literary men of the 19th century, and their influence is visible in the most famous poets of that period. Southey and Moore often quote Jones' works in their copious notes that Shelley and Tennyson borrowed from him in their Queen Mab, and Locksley Hall has already been proved by Professor E. Coepel. Byron also seems to have read some of his works. Sir William himself had foreseen the value of Eastern poetry in his essay on the poetry of the Eastern nations. He wrote that if Eastern language are studied, a number of excellent compositions would be brought to light which future scholars might explain and the future poets imitate. The proceedings of the Asiatic Society were published as Asiatic Research in 1788. The responsibility of publication was managed by Manuel Cantofer. Asiatic researchers became so reputed that it was translated immediately into French and German. Meanwhile, College at Fort William and the Serampore Mission assumed pivotal role in the progress of the Asiatic Society. Serampore Mission was India's first Christ missionary organization. It was established by William Carey and his two associates in the year 1800. William Carey. William Carey, as a representative of the society, Carey and Thomas came to Bengal for preaching Christianity. He began missionary activities by way of translating the Bible, founding schools and preaching Christianity. Carey conducted the translation work of the Bible, while one of his associate, Marshman, decided to discharge the responsibility of school administration, and another associate of his, Ward, took the responsibility of the printing work. This mission was self-supportive. The Sirampur Mission Press was Carey, William Ward and other British Baptist missionaries. Between 1800 to 1832, it produced more than 2 lakhs books. The books included articles on Christianity, literary works in Indian languages and translations of the Bible in 25 Indian languages. Another major achievement of the press was the production of grammar, dictionaries and moral books for the Fort William College and the Calcutta School Book Society. The Sirampur Mission Press published books in almost 45 languages, including various dialects. It was officially closed in the year of 1837 as it ran into substantial debts. Sirampur Mission sent a proposal to Asiatic Society to publish the Sanskrit epic Ramayana along with its English translation. For the translation of Ramayana, Carey and his associates took help of Hindu and Muslim interpreters, who both translate and sometimes write out rough copies and should think it criminal not to do so. But we never print any translation till every word has been revised and re-revised. Whatever helps we employ, I have never yet suffered a single word or a single mode of construction to pass through examining it and seeing through it. I read every proof sheet twice or thrice myself and correct every letter with my hand. Brother Marshman and I compare with the Greek or Hebrew, and Brother Word reads every sheet. 3 of the translations, Bengali, Hindustani and Sanskrit. I translate with my own hand the 2 last immediate from the Greek and the Hebrew Bible before me while I translate the Bengali. Indeed, I never yet thought anything perfect that I have done. I have no scruple, however, any saying that I believe every translation that we have printed to be a good one, said by William Carey. Fort William College was an institute established in the year which aimed at training British officials in Indian languages and in the process fostered the development of languages such as Bengali and Urdu. Hundreds and thousands of books were translated from Sanskrit, Arabic, Persian, Bengali, Hindi and Urdu into English. Now let us talk about Sir Charles Wilkins. Sir Charles Wilkins, 1750 to 1833, translated the Bhagavad Gita into English in 1785 and published a translation of Hitopadesa in 1787 and the grammar of Sanskrit language. William Jones translated Kalidasa's Avigyan Shakuntalam in 1789, Jayadeva's Gita Govinda in 1789 and Manusmriti in 1794 and edited Ritu Shamar in 1792. He also translated a Persian work, Laila Majnu. This work of translation was carried forward by Coolbrooke and Wilson. He contributed 19 papers to the transactions of the society. He also translated Jagannath Tarkapanchanan's Vivada Bhangaranava as in 1798 and also published a Amarakosha in 1808. Horace Hammond Wilson was an English Orientalist who studied medicine but became deeply interested in literature of India. He was then appointed as the Secretary of the Asiatic Society and published a lyrical rhythm translation of Kalidasa's Meghduta in 1825. He also published an edition of Colhan's Rajtarangini. 2 of the best known Britons connected with India in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, Sir William Jones and Lord Macaulay, had both gone out to assist in this vital and long-running project of legal codification and administration. Jones as a judge of the Supreme Court of Bengal at Calcutta and Macaulay as a member for law in the Council of the Governor General. These were about the British institutions and the British scholars who contributed in the field of translation, who translated Indian literature into English. But there were one more significant area in this translation phenomenon, that is Bible translation during colonial India. Bible translation during colonial India. The Bible is a storehouse which retains the antiquity starting from the creation of the world and moving through various historical periods, geographical territories, and lives of numerous individuals, families, and nations. A small Danish colony of Tarangamwadi, popularly known as Vancouver, became the seedbed of modern Protestant Christianity in and around the cities of Tanjore, Trichy, Chennai, and Palayamkottai and Calcutta. First translation of Bible, according to the Bible Society of India, happened into Tamil by a German missionary named Bartholomew Ziesenbalg in 1714. He finished translation of Old Testament up to the book of Ruth by 1719, year of his death. The remaining work was completed by another German missionary, Benjamin Schools, and published in Vancouver in 1728. Philip Fabricius, also a German, spent 24 years on the translation of the Bible, which was published in 1777. By the time of his death in February 1719, he had translated all the Old Testament books from Genesis to Joshua. It is interesting that he preferred the colloquial form of Tamil as spoken by the fisher folk in Vancouver to the poetic form of Tamil cultivated by literati. Before the British Baptist missionaries reached Calcutta, there were Roman Catholic and Lutheran missionaries, Anglican ministers, and chaplains served their own people in the capital city that housed the administrative headquarters of the English East India Company. The Battle of Plassey, 1757, marked the ascension of the English to political, economic, and military power. The trade and administrative policy of the English East India Company aimed to please those Muslims and Hindus who worked for them as merchants, interpreters, intelligence gatherers, soldiers, account keepers, and go-between. As a result, they were anti-Christian in a sense that they did not want to introduce Christianity to Indians. In 1758, Robert Clive helped John Zacharias Karnender to work as a Lutheran missionary in Calcutta. Kiernander founded a school with 175 children and also founded in Calcutta the Lal Girija or the Red Church. Also known the Beth Tefila House of Prayer or the Old Mission Church. 2 years earlier, the Danes had launched their trading post at Sirampur, about 12 miles north of Calcutta. Prior coming to Calcutta, Carey had learned the basics of Bengali from John Thomas and Nathaniel Brassey, Halhead's Bengali grammar in 1778. Not only that, he practiced his Bengali with the learned Brahmin Ramram Basu, who as an interpreter at the Supreme Court in Calcutta was well versed in Bengali, Sanskrit, Persian, and perhaps to some extent in English. During his continued stay in Midnapur, Carey discovered Bengali ways of constructing meaning and setting priorities for life and action. He taught himself about Bengali social and ritual relationships and networks and learned much about their uncertainties about the changing prospects of their life in relation to Bengali rulers and the administrators of the English East India Company. Carey recognized the fact that India, being a multilingual country, would require multiple translation of Bible. Despite knowing the fact vernacular were not much acceptable as the vehicle of learning, he suggested the translation of Bible into the vernaculars. In 1798, George Udne donated to Carey a wooden press for printing, and Carey was able to make concrete plans to publish his translation of the Bengali Bible. In 1804, the first evangelical chaplain David Brown appointed capable teachers of several Indian languages. He installed William Carey as the professor of Bengali and Sanskrit. Carey was so enthusiastic about the possibility of working with these scholars in one place and soliciting their help in revising his earlier translation drafts and initiating new translations of the Bible into several Asian languages. On 14 December 1805, he expressed his hope in these words, I quote, "We have it in our power, if our means would do for it, in the space of about 15 years, to have the word of God translated and printed in all the languages of the East. Our situation is such as to furnish us with the best assistance from the natives of the different countries. We can have types of all the different characters cast here, about 700 rupees per month, part of which we shall be able to furnish could complete the work. On this great work we have fixed our eyes. Whether God will enable us to accomplish it or any considerable part of it is uncertain." I unquote. By 1820, Carey and his team published the entire Bible in 5 languages, namely Bengali, Sanskrit, Hindi, Marathi, and etc., and the New Testament in 10 other languages, including Chinese, Telugu, Assamese, Konkani, Gujarati, the Sikh languages of Punjabi and Multan, Pashto of Afghanistan, Bikaner of Rajasthan, and Kashmiri. Carey and his colleagues understood the vernacular versions of the Bible as lights that would brighten entire India. In 1805, the Fort William College Press published 4 Gospels in Devanagari script, but a better version was translated and which became popular was that of Henry Martyn. Martyn was a British Anglican priest who came to India in 1806. His passion of language and literature led him to translate New Testament in Persian. It was through the translation of Bible that missionaries carried out the task of developing the grammar and dictionaries of various Indian languages. This is so because linguistics played an important role in classifying, identifying, and grouping various languages under different language families. According to that, Bible Society of India, the complete Bible is available in 65 of our languages. Portions of the Bible are available in 204 Indian languages. Now let us conclude our discussion. In this discussion, we came to know about the translation by the British intellectuals, by the British scholars, patronized by different British institutions like Asiatic Society, Srirampur Mission, College of Fort William, and different religious institutions also were there behind translating Indian text into European languages or Bible into Indian languages. And this is how Indian vernacular tradition actually enriched by Bible translation, and Indian literature got its new horizon in the Europe. So such kind of translation history shows us that how cross-cultural encounter was this translational relation. One side Indian literature was translated into different European languages, and in other side European literatures and knowledge texts were translated into different Indian languages. So this were the communication, and this was the communication between East and West, and translation appeared as contact zone of East and West, and in this history of translation both the parties were benefited. Thank you.